Eisenberg, CMO of MongoDB. Pretty excited to be here to talk to you a little bit about the C-suite partnership between the CMO and the CIO and how that's delivering a modern customer experience. And I'll go through some of the trends around that and some interesting case studies. A little bit about myself. I've only been at MongoDB for about 8 months. Prior to that, I was at a company called Docusign for 3.5 years. We grew from a 150-person company to over 1,200, from 13 million people on our platform to over 50 million. So quite a lot of growth. And before that, I was at other enterprise software companies that eventually were acquired. In my free time, kind of my hobby, I like to advise tech companies, several of them on the right, a lot of MarTech technologies. I'm definitely deep into marketing technology and what it can do for you as a business. A little bit more about the company. We're open source modern database. We have a thriving community, over 10 million downloads, and over 250,000 in our university, and we just launched an app, so if anyone's interested in learning a little bit more about coding and developing in MongoDB, that's the perfect app for you. And we're going to have a great announcement on our newest version of our database later today. So, it used to be that the heroes of marketing were the great storytellers, those like Don Draper and his Mad Men colleagues. And it used to be that marketing was really simple. You know, you had control of the message, of the channel, of the product, and the consumer was along for the ride. Well, that's really been upended and changed. The consumer's really in control, and that's a lot to do with the technology and the proliferation of devices that are out there. And we have a very demanding consumer, as we know. They want instant gratification. Everything's got to be right now. My CEO, Dave Itcheria, always says, slow is the new down. And I think that's really true. If we aren't delivering something in real time right away, we're going to lose folks. And it's got to be relevant. As marketers, we've got to deliver the right message at the right time. We've got to deliver the best value at the best service, and certainly at the lowest price. And we have Amazon to thank for delivering price validation across the net so you can see what prices are. And of course, free shipping and gratuitous return policies. So as businesses, we really have to deliver, in order to survive, something that speaks to our consumer, and to thrive, we have to do that better than anyone else. And with our devices and connected devices, we're throwing off a whole host of recordable data. And this is just a list of a few things that are out there. And as marketers, we are really responsible for that oceans of data that we're putting out on the channels, lots of videos, lots of things that people are interested in. They're so obsessed with their devices. And with the Internet of Things, or what we like to say, put a chip in it, look, recently the NFL, or the football league in the US, started putting chips in uniforms and in helmets. And they're recording all this information. And think about the data they're collecting about injuries and location and other things like that, and how they're going to use that information. And if you put a chip in everything, tons of data that's out there that we could be collecting and should be. In fact, experts can't even agree. Is it 44 zettabytes, or is it going to be 400 zettabytes in the next few years? I'm impressed. If you look at Boeing 787, it's over 40 terabytes of data in 1 hour of flight. Wow, this would definitely make Don Draper's head spin if he had to deal with all of this data. So how do we do that? How do we get and collect this information when there's so much volume and variety? All right, here we go. So that's why the heroes of today are not the Don Drapers. They're actually those like Hillary Mason. And why? Because she's a data scientist. In fact, the ex-chief data scientist at Bitly, she left and started her own company called Fast Forward Labs, and she does professional services for companies figuring out how to collect all this data, how to leverage it, and have a better strategy moving forward so they can deliver a more modern customer experience. Because the old way of brand awareness is not enough. What Don Draper was chartered with will not do it. In fact, the only thing that will is if we engage with our consumers. And we have to do this by reading the data tea leaves, by being a data scientist. So now we know, though, there's so much data out there, so we can't just be data scientists, we have to be technologists to collect it, and then of course we do have to tell a great story like Don Draper. This would certainly have made his head spin, and he wouldn't be able to have those martinis at lunch all the time had he had the job that we have today. We need Hillary in our pocket to really direct us and help us tell that story that engages the consumer. And so let's look at the marketing stack. So as a marketer, there's all this data out there. What do I need to do? I need to collect it, and then I need to use it across the funnel in a way that helps me better engage with the consumer and the customer. And so this is actually a snapshot of what we did at Docusign. We went from basically 3 different technologies to more than 18. And we're doing a similar transformation at MongoDB right now, leveraging all of these. And we're saying, okay, we've got this funnel where we start with awareness, evaluate, purchase, and then advocate. There's going to be different data that's relevant across that. So I need to capture it and then deliver it back at the right time to get that engagement. And so if you map the technology across this funnel, you'll see some interesting things. One, we have a marketing automation platform, which is Eloqua, which is grabbing and hosting any data we collect, whether it's from our website, from a form, from loading information. Then we want to personalize with demand base. That's another technology. We're getting a little feedback. Then from a social standpoint, similar to a marketing automation platform, for email, we've got Insightpool, which is helping us do it at a social level and engage with folks. And then for our customers, we've got Influitive, we've got Customer DNA with Mintigo, we've got to do predictive lead scoring as well, we need to manage our budget, which is Hive9, and all of a sudden you go from having 1 or 2 technologies for marketing to 20 or more. I mean, and there's so many to choose from. And my advice is always, what challenge are you trying to solve, where in the funnel, and what is the optimal technology for that? So if that's the sort of marketer's job to host and use that data, we also have to build better applications and the way we interact with the consumer. And so for that, there's just a baseline set of requirements, which are these. 1, be connected all the time. You certainly couldn't have downtime ever, but you need to be across any device. We know it's not just desktop, it's laptop, it's cell phone, it's even the watch, right? I've got my Apple Watch, I'm connected. I had a great story to share. A couple months ago, I was riding my bike to work, and I was going through Palo Alto streets, and my phone rang, and it was about 7:30 in the morning, and it was in the basket up front, and I was like, oh, who is it? And I looked at my watch, and it was Sam, the head of corporate marketing. Well, she probably wouldn't be calling me this time in the morning unless it was something important. I didn't think I could answer with my phone. You can't drive and talk in California. You probably can't ride your bike either. At least in the college days, you couldn't drink and ride your bike, so I assume it was the same. And so I actually answered the phone on my wrist, riding my bike, and I could talk back and forth. She thought I was in the car, and so she laughed a little bit when I told her I was on my bike. But it's this idea that I've got a device that I can access at any time, wherever I am. Same thing with Docusign. People don't always want to be in the office or aren't always in the office to sign documents. Maybe they're on vacation. They're at, somewhere with their family on the weekend. They're at the beach. So, they've designed an app. They've designed something that you can use anywhere, that experience that you need, and in real time. I was also fortunate enough to listen to Ivy Ross. She's reinventing Google Glass, and really talking about the new retail experience that some stores are already trying. When I walk in, the person that's there has Google Glass on. They recognize who I am immediately. They know my size. They know my purchasing habits. They know that I bought a black pair of pants. I'm probably going to want some sort of shell that goes with that or sweater. And they can deliver a better experience for me. And I'm probably going to purchase more and feel better served. Same thing, Virgin, for their high-end customers. As soon as you step out of the car, they're there to greet you. They check you in. They take your luggage. They tell you what gate, what the weather's going to be like, what the events are that are going on. And they really make you feel like it's just for you. And also, of course, we've got contextually relevant experiences. I think Amazon does a great job of this. When we're online, we're ordering. 30% of their revenue comes from the recommendations engine. And that's because they've collected a ton of information about you. And by the way, they know where you live, so they know who your neighbors are. And they know you're going to try and keep up with your neighbors. So when your neighbors buy something for the yard, they're going to recommend that to you as well, because you are going to see your neighbors doing that. I mean, it's powerful, it's creepy, but it's everything that we've come to expect. We want this sort of just-in-time, just-for-me, very relevant experience. And so this is forcing us as marketers to be better technologists, right? If we just tell a great story, we're not going to get people. We need to understand them, what they need, and to deliver a better experience. And certainly the Gartner stat of budgets shifting over, it has come true. And that there's more and more budget being allocated to the CMO and to marketers because we have to deliver this experience or we're going to perish. Our competitors are going to do it much better than us, and we're going to be disrupted in the market that we're in. And I think CIOs are noticing this as well. They realize the technology is shifting over. They want to be able to secure it, but they also want to be innovative and work with you. And so therein lies where you need to partner so you can deliver a better experience. Marry the skills you have as a marketer with technology and go from there. So what does success look like? Certainly you've got to be a technology geek, a staunch customer advocate, and you've got to be that data scientist. And when you bring those together, you're going to deliver a better product. And it's because of the trends of big data, an empowered consumer, and the CMO and the CIO alliance. And I'm going to spend the next couple minutes going through some companies that I think are doing a really good job of marrying these together. And so the first one is Boche. Some of you are probably familiar with them. Certainly my dishwasher is Boche. And they're really big into the Internet of Things. It's a big deal, but they also manufacture more than just dishwashers, but they are big manufacturers, cars, planes, etc. And they have a whole effort around the manufacturing floor where they put a chip in about everything, every tool where they can quickly locate it, even the sensitivity when they're screwing something in, making sure it's the right torque, making sure their quality is exactly what it's designed to be. And because of that, they're a lot more efficient. Their manufacturing floors are a lot more productive. They save costs in the long run because of returns and safety recalls are at a minimum. The next one, customer service, maybe something we don't really think about when we talk about insurance. Well, MetLife definitely went through a transformation. The woman here is a little frustrated because you used to call in and she didn't know who you were when you called. In fact, they had 70 different databases that they had to go through to find the right information depending on what you were calling on. This certainly wasn't a good experience. It took a lot of time to answer your questions. And so now when you call in, they've gone through a revamp where in a 2-week time, they built out a demo database that consolidated everything. And then within 90 days, they stood it up. And they designed it after Facebook, the wall. So imagine you're hiring customer service reps. You're now providing them an interface that looks a little like Facebook, which they're really comfortable with. That's one view of the truth. All the information is there that they need. And so it's easier to train people when they come on board, but it's also a much better customer experience if you are calling in because you get your answers answered quickly, your questions answered quickly. Next, what I call the Fitbit for babies, Sproutling. I'm a mother of 3, so this is near and dear to me. I have a 6, 4, and 15-month-old. And certainly when I first started, I had videos where I would sit there and watch. But this is, the next most amazing thing. As a new mother, you often worry your child's not breathing and that you're not going to hear them when they need you. But this thing monitors breathing. It monitors positioning, temperature of the room. In fact, it's got a predictive element to it. It'll actually tell you when your child's about to wake up. It tells you the mood of your child. I like to think that this would save some marriages if we had this on everyone's ankles. But it's amazing what we can do with technology. And even investing. Charles Schwab, they've done a great job. They've created an app where we can rebalance our portfolio. Entry is only $5,000. You don't have to pay every time you make a change to rebalance. It really cuts out the middleman. And they market this idea of instant gratification, that you can set this up in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. That's what we want. We want instant, and we want something that's going to provide tremendous value that we didn't have before. And all of us have gotten inundated with companies that deliver food. I certainly use a version of this called DoorDash on the West Coast. Seamless is really popular on the East Coast for our New York team. But how easy is it? I go online, I get exactly what I order. I can see when it's being delivered. My credit card's there. I don't have to worry about any of that. And then flying, United, Aer Lingus, this whole concept of looking at what seats you want. I'm sure some of us experienced some cancellations, so being able to see what other flights are available without having to wait in line to book them, all of that really transforming that. And then my last example is dating. This guy's thing says, "I won't murder you." I mean, it's definitely gone through a renaissance, hasn't it? Instead of this just meeting you, using geospatial information. Now, these apps like Tinder and Grindr, you know where people are located, you can see who they are, you can match up with them. I mean, it's crazy. Having young daughters, I'm a little worried about this. I hope they don't use it until they're way past 25, 30, 40 years old. But, you know, I only imagine what they're going to have access to with the amount of data that's out there. And so we've got these baseline requirements that I talked about. These are companies that have all, you know, really changed their businesses, but also transformed their industries. Because we have these connected mobile devices and we have this desire for geospatial transactions to go on, companies have to do this to be modern. They have to make it effortless, remove the friction from the transaction. They have to anticipate our needs and provide that instant gratification. My board member, Kevin Ryan, was saying a few years ago, if you looked at Craigslist, which is a very not a very interesting interface, if you took categories from that, you could make businesses like Airbnb to find a place to live, like Care.com, or a favorite of mine, Urban Sitter. And then, of course, modern apps have new DNA. They have to deal with tons of data, these complex algorithms, and be elastic. Certainly, if you look at Slack, they just announced having 1 million users on at the same time. I mean, think of supporting 1 million users. That's massive. And Snapchat, up to 200 million within a month of active users. So I would ask, are these technologies in your vocabulary? Certainly if you're in marketing, you wouldn't be expected to know these, but it would be a good way to talk to your CIO and your development team if you know these. A lot of, you know, Amazon Web Services for the cloud, Node for network applications, Docker for distributed applications, Hadoop you're probably most familiar with for data, and really popular lately is Spark. It's displacing MapReduce in next generation analytics, and IBM has put a lot behind that, putting 3,500 developers around it, similar to what they did with Linux. Well, I certainly appreciate your time today. I enjoyed talking with you. Hopefully it's made you think a little bit about your companies, your industries, how you're transforming them, and how you're going to leapfrog your industries and your competitors. Thank you.